Okay, lately I've been thinking about, like what makes a great game idea and like how do you come up with a great game idea? And today I'm going to be focusing more on quantity, but I also want to, help you evaluate whether or not your ideas are like actually any good. So first of all, how do you get more ideas? Because you need your first idea probably isn't going to be very good, right? So you need to be able to, in general, for most people, come up with a lot of different ideas for games and try them out. So the way most great game designers come up with ideas, and by the way, I'm not a great game designer yet, but I'm hoping to get there pretty soon. But the way most of them do this is to play a lot of games so that they get ideas for a lot of, game mechanics, right? How the games actually function. And they also consume a lot of other media so they can bring fantasies from other media into games, right? So let's say there's not any Indiana Jones games. If somebody watched Indiana Jones, if a game designer did, they'd be like, that would make a really good game. So they're probably going to turn, that fantasy again, not just straight up rip off Indiana Jones, not steal their IP and commit, copyright fraud or copyright theft. But, they'd make, a game with those same kind of vibes, that same fantasy, right? And so the reason you can't just play games is because, again, you got to be able to take fantasies from other pieces of media, because if you're just playing other games, well, it's kind of already been done before. That doesn't mean you can't do it, but it's already been done before. And so I think, by consuming other media, you're just going to have a lot more breadth, right? And your ideas are going to be way cooler. And then the reason you can't just watch movies or TV, if you're a game designer, you're probably playing games, but if you can't just watch TV because you're not going to have a wide range of game mechanics to pick from, right? And also play a wide range of games and watch a wide range of movies, right? But I would kind of focus on what you're interested in too, but try to broaden your horizons as well. Recently, I played, I think you pronounce it Katamari Damacy, something like that. They say in the game all the time, but it's that ball rolling game where you roll up a ball into a bigger and bigger and bigger ball, and it eventually gets so big you're consuming cities and stuff, right? So I had an idea loosely based off of that, right? Earlier this year, I played Nubby's Number Factory, which is a fantastic roguelike. And right now I'm making an incremental game that's basically just Nubby's Number Factory, but as an incremental game. And the creator of Nubby's Number Factory actually let me put Nubby in my game. So Nubby from Nubby's Number Factory is officially in Idle Gumball Machine, which is just so cool. And it's one of the highlights of my year. But I bring this up because I use this methodology because in Spelunky, not the game, but the book written by the same guy, he basically talks about how coming up with ideas or being creative is having a whole bunch of puzzle pieces and putting them together, right? And sometimes the puzzle pieces, it's not really obvious how they fit in right away, but then later on you're like, oh yes, that idea would fit great into this idea, this bigger idea, right? And there's another great book called Steal Like an Artist. I'd recommend that one too. Not sponsored, okay? But it's just fantastic. It's a really short book, and he basically says that if you get inspiration from just one place, from just one thing, and a lot of new developers do this too, right? They're like, I want to make Skyrim. Well, guess what? It's just going to be a worse version of Skyrim. Even if it's somehow better, it's going to be seen as worse because Skyrim was first, right? So don't just take inspiration from one place. In Steal Like an Artist, the guy basically says, take inspiration from 100 different places, right? Because then you're going to be seen as unique because you're putting all this together. Of course, you got to do it in a way that kind of makes sense, and that's hard, in a way that you're excited about too. But it's just way better than copying a game that you like. And I'm tempted to do that sometimes too, but I just really try not to. So with game ideas, I think there are generally two main categories of idea, okay? We have our top-down ideas and our bottom-up ideas. And so top-down, to make it brief, is focusing on the fantasy or the general concept first, and then figuring out the mechanics of the game and other lower level things, if you can think of any. And then bottom up would be the exact opposite, right? Thinking of like a game mechanic or mechanics, and then coming up with a fantasy or a theme around that. And so if you play a lot of games, diverse games with diverse mechanics, yeah, you're probably gonna be better at bottom up design. And if you just watch like a lot of movies and other media, you might be better at top down design, because you're gonna have more, or it might be the opposite, I really don't know. But if you watch like a lot of movies, you're gonna have a lot of like just fantasy ideas, right? Like cool plot ideas. But if you play a lot of games, you're gonna have a lot of game mechanics you can pull from to remix and turn into new games. And so, me personally, I've traditionally preferred bottom up, just because I like messing around with mechanics, and like traditionally I found it a bit harder to like turn a fantasy into like an actual fun functional game. But lately it's been kind of the opposite. I've been feeling like it's easier to turn a fantasy into a fun game, and turn it, like, to me, I think it'd be really difficult to turn a game mechanic into an actual good fantasy, because that's what I've been trying to do, like with Idle Gumball Machine and Comet Rogue. But again, I love these games, I think they're great, but it's just not like, they're not the most appealing games conceptually. So I think that's kind of a small failure on those games' part. But you know, like sorry, bro, chat, are we cooked? Son of a. But with top down, you know, you get to like just think of a fantasy, and you instantly, you know, like if you hear that fantasy, it's like everybody's like, oh crap, yeah, I gotta play that game because it's so appealing. And then you can actually make, I think, almost any fantasy into a fun game. And this is kind of a view that Jonas Tyroller, the legendary indie game developer, has kind of put out there recently. And I've been, after reading a few more game design books, I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, I kind of agree with them. I think in general, it's a bit easier to go top down. At number 4, I just want to mention, you know, like, your game idea probably sucks. And this also goes for my idea. I'm not trying to trash anybody, but this is why I would probably recommend prototyping, partially so that you can see if the idea is any good at all, and also partially so that you can iterate on that rapidly and see if you can turn it into an even better idea. So maybe I'll talk more about that next time. But for now, this has been Vincent Poteet. Please like and subscribe and